This room are ruining their lives by being overly virtuous.
That's actually a microaggression to say young people, because it carries subconscious bias towards the elderly.
Actually, what you're doing is denying agency to the elderly, which is arguably much worse.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You see, it's a slippery slope. 1 minute you're carrying a reusable water bottle, fine, and the next minute you're arguing that water is racist.
Oh my God, is water racist?
Is this a sign of a backlash? A backlash to yet another form of entertainment that the far left's obsession with identity politics has almost ruined? Comedy. Now, I'm not saying that woke comedy is dead. People like John Oliver and Stephen Colbert still get huge audiences for their stale, repetitive Trump-bashing monologues. But it's a different story for the likes of Samantha Bee, whose humour consists mainly of angry swearing and calling conservative women vulgar words.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless. He listens to you.
Bee has lost a whopping 47%, nearly half of her millennial viewers since 2017. Because adopting this angry, sanctimonious, righteously indignant posture for nearly every single skit gets tiresome in a hurry. It's not funny. Constantly picking on easy targets like dumb Trump supporters and playing on laborious stereotypes about right-wingers isn't original. It's safe, intellectually lazy, and it's been done to death. The backlash to woke comedy isn't just about creating politically incorrect comedy for the sake of it to exact some kind of ideological revenge. It's about being funny, and it is objectively funny. This was funny.
Have a hobnob.
I find the word hobnob very phallocentric.
Fuck off, Jamie.
Amy Schumer talking about her vagina over and over again. That's not funny.
Vagina.
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 Vagina. Vagina's vagina.
Vagina. Vagina.
Vagina.
Just do women's comedy stuff, you know, talk about how fat you are and how you want to have sex with guys and then say, my vagina, a lot.
Michelle Wolf slurring out predictable punchlines in front of a sycophantic audience that will laugh at anything she says so long as it's anti-Trump isn't funny.
You guys are going through cabinet members quicker than Starbucks throws out black people.
Sarah Silverman awkwardly crowbarring cliched crap about white privilege into a comedy routine isn't funny.
I love you, police officer. Well, that's easy for me to say. I mean, I can walk into any encounter with the police assuming they're gonna serve and protect me. That's my luxury. That's called white privilege.
Likes and comments disabled for this video. Wonder why. Woke comedy isn't funny.
A 28-year-old man expects praise for not being a misogynist.
Trans improv performers making punchlines less cis isn't funny. See if you think this PC-friendly joke to promote Winnipeg's woke comedy night is funny. What did the Indigenous woman say to the non-binary person of colour? It doesn't matter because these people aren't here to be the punchline. You can't make something funny just by imbuing it with some pretentious moralising social justice cause. That's not how humour works. The left has forgotten how to be funny, because as I've explained a million times, most of them seem to have no self-awareness of the fact that they're no longer the counterculture. They're the dominant culture. They control the dominant cultural institutions. They still control the dominant cultural narrative. You can't be edgy, rebellious and daring if you're just parroting establishment dominant cultural narratives. It doesn't work. It's not funny. Decades ago it was funny and it worked because they were taking on hypocrites and Puritans who were predominantly on the right. And they were typically punching up because the right had cultural ascendancy. Now that the left are the new Puritans, comedians are constantly petrified of offending somebody and always walking on eggshells. This inhibits creative freedom. It stifles the very thought process which makes good comedy. The willingness to offend everybody, not just easy right-wing targets, so long as it's funny. Sarah Silverman used to be funny. Now it sounds like someone's turned her into a Stepford wife.
I do think it's important as a comedian, as a human, to change with the times, to change with new information.
People like Jay Leno, Seinfeld and Chris Rock have stopped performing in front of college audiences because the snowflakes just can't handle it.
College kids now are so politically correct.
A lot of comics don't want to play colleges because they feel that the environment is too
PC, and I don't think that that's good for comedy. I don't think it's good for college students.
Even leftist darling Bill Maher was protested because he criticised Islam.
There's a creepy PC thing out there that really bothers me.
This was aired 5 years ago. Ask yourself, would Comedy Central broadcast it today?
Wow. Right? Blip. Shablimps. You know, I caught a little glimpse of her foot nut. You saw ankle bone?
No. This is what Comedy Central broadcasts today.
Yo, I'm finna kick a verse that's dope and amazing about the history of cultural appropriation. Appropriation happens when oppressed culture gets co-opted by a dominant other.
Former head of BBC Comedy Shane Allen said Monty Python, universally recognised as one of the funniest and most inventive comedy sketch shows of all time, wouldn't be commissioned today because it's too white. Co-writer Stephen Merchant said The Office wouldn't get commissioned by the BBC today because, quote, increasingly now it feels like it's the liberal agenda that dictates what can and cannot be joked about. British comedy was once the envy of the world. Now we put people in jail for offensive jokes, and the BBC airs this humour holocaust instead.
Headlines on the hour. Trump's cognitive ability normal. He's just a prick, says White House doctor.
You called Donald Trump a prick? Hilarious! How bold, how fresh. How long did it take your team of writers to come up with that stroke of comedic genius? But again, this goes back to prioritising identity politics tokenism over being funny. As soon as you remove being funny as the #1 priority of any joke, comedy routine or sketch show, it stops being funny.
If you make me laugh with a really funny racist joke, I'm thankful, because you made me laugh. I don't think you think that everything you say is a fucking sworn statement, an affidavit that you're giving in court. I assume that when you're doing the art of stand-up comedy, you're going to say things you don't really mean because they're funnier than what you really mean. Yeah. And that's part of the art form. Just like when you listen to a song, you know, Bob Marley didn't really shoot the sheriff, okay? Probably didn't shoot anybody. And it's like, it's part of the art. It's making shit up. And when you take that away because people are going to be offended, well, then you remove almost every movie that's ever been made. You remove almost every book that's ever been written. You take away almost every stand-up comedian set, and you just get, you fucking nerf the shit out of the world, and everybody's boring.
Also, because most intersectional PC nonsense is embraced and promoted by government bodies, big academic institutions and large corporations, politically incorrect comedy isn't punching down, it's punching up. There's also an elitism which runs through mainstream comedy that genuinely does punch down against working class people like Brexit supporters. But that's now being countered by comedy like this.
Brexit. Fucking telling me I'm a fucking racist because I voted leave, right? We're racist. Working class people on the fucking front line of racial integration. Do you know what I mean? We've actually got friends in those communities. Those people, they might come over for tea, our kids might date people from that community. Don't fucking tell me about racism when it all comes down to is fucking artisan bread. Fuck you. Yeah, we know who's going to come and, you know, pick the strawberries or work at Pret. Oh, wow, I didn't realise that's what the EU was there for.
Signs that the backlash to political correctness is taking effect in comedy or everywhere. Before she was forced to bite the bullet for an offensive tweet, Roseanne's sitcom returned to glowing acclaim and massive ratings.
And its revival was big in its debut with 25 million viewers.
Thank you for making America great again.
ABC cancelled Tim Allen's sitcom, which featured a conservative as the main character, despite good ratings.
What do we call people that go willy-nilly through life just doing things because it feels good?
Democrats.
YouTube Red surprisingly produced an unashamedly politically incorrect satirical series, Cobra Kai. The first episode alone was watched by 40 million people. Nearly all the truly talented and successful comedians in recent times, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, Ricky Gervais, are anti-PC, or at least they don't let their act be controlled by it. Dave Chappelle's comedy special was a huge success after he warned other comedians that boring, formulaic, Trump-bashing jokes weren't funny. And more comedians are speaking out. Rob Schneider said, quote, Much late-night comedy is less about being funny and more about indoctrination by comedic imposition. People aren't really laughing at it as much as cheering on the rhetoric. It no longer resembles a comedy show, it's more like some kind of liberal clan meeting. Mel Brooks said, quote, "Our stupidly politically correct society is the death of comedy. The revolt against the bland, sterile, castrated borefest that represents contemporary mainstream comedy is in full swing." It's another battle in the culture war against miserable, pearl-clutching, self-important prudes who are determined to make everything tedious and joyless. And if genuinely authentic, acerbic, punchy, offensive, funny comedy is to be reinvigorated, it's a battle that must be won.